For a change, I did not drive a 50,000 euro electric family crossover. No, at this moment, this is the cheapest electric car money can buy in most of, and maybe even in all of Europe. And I was really excited to drive it. Hello there, monsters and men, ladies and people. First, a big thank you to Van Mossel in Rotterdam for lending me this Dacia Spring, and welcome to Recharging. Some people might wonder why I am excited that I can drive the cheapest electric car. Well, because it is something else. Most people cannot afford a 50,000 euro car. Hell, most people cannot afford a 30,000 euro car. Here in the Netherlands, this Dacia Spring starts from 18,500 euros without any subsidies. And in most countries in Europe, it is even cheaper than that. And I know 18,500 euros is still a lot of money, but we also have to think about the second-hand market in a couple of years. So, what do you get for 18,500 euros? You get a car in the same class as the Hyundai i10, VW Up or Fiat 500. The Dacia Spring has what Dacia calls a SUV style. Call it whatever you want. It just means that the Dacia Spring stands a bit higher on its wheels and that you have some black plastic around the wheels. The Dacia Spring looks pretty good in my opinion. From the outside, I don't think it looks cheap at all. Did you damage your alloy wheels while parking in town? No problem with this Dacia Spring, because you don't get alloy wheels. You get plastic wheel covers. So remove them, slap a new one on and you're good to go. The boot of this car is actually surprisingly big for a car of this class. If I open it up, what you will see is a boot space of 300 liters. If you put down the rear seats, and no, they are not split, you will get a boot space of 620 liters. The Dacia Spring has a battery pack of 27 kilowatt hours located under the rear seats. And also, this car is light. The car weighs around 950 kilos. I mean, that is light for an internal combustion engine car, and that is really light for an electric car. The claimed WLTP range of this car is 230 kilometers. I have been driving around now with this car for a while, and during my test period it is between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius outside, and I get a range on mixed roads of around 140 kilometers. When driving only in and around the city, I get a range of around 170 to 180 kilometers. We have to keep in mind that the Dacia Spring has a relatively small battery pack and it doesn't have a heat pump, so it has a normal electric heater to heat up the cabin. So in winter, to heat up the cabin, relatively speaking, you consume more energy than you do with a larger battery pack. And also the Dacia Spring does not have a system to heat up or cool down the battery actively to bring it in optimal conditions, so that will also influence range in winter. And therefore in summer, when you don't need the heater and also when the battery pack is a little bit warmer, I do expect a range on mixed roads of around 180 kilometers. And when driving only in the city, you can get close to that 230 kilometers. Dacia claims that the city WLTP range of this car is 300 kilometers, but that seems unlikely. I only wonder how the condition of the battery pack will hold up over time, and that is mainly because, again, it doesn't have a system that will actively heat up or cool down the battery pack while charging. Also, you cannot set a charge limit on this car, so that means if your charger can't set a charge limit, the car is always charged to 100%. I think if you only charge on AC, you are probably fine, but it's just a thing that I wonder. As standard, this Dacia Spring has a single-phase onboard charger. That means on a 11 kilowatt 3-phase charger, it can only take one phase. That means it can only take 3.6 kilowatts. That means a charging time of about 9 hours. On a 32 amp charger, it can take up a maximum of 7.2 kilowatts, and then the charging time is about 4.5 hours. It would have been nice if there was that 3-phase onboard charger option though, but unfortunately there isn't. Fast charging? Fast charging is an option, but take my advice, always take fast charging. because if you have to use this car for a longer trip, you can do that with that fast charging option. Fast charging is not really fast because it is only a maximum of 34 kilowatts, but you can charge this battery from 0 to 80% in about 40 minutes. In terms of 0 to 100 times, this is the slowest car I have ever driven. Period. It does 0 to 100 in 19 seconds. Yeah, you heard me right, 19 seconds. It also has 44 horsepower and 125 Newton meters of torque, and it has a top speed of 125 kilometers an hour. But for the purpose that most people are going to use it most of the time, driving it in and around town, it is fine. I mean, acceleration, because of the electric motor and the instant torque that the electric motor gives you, feels quicker than it is. And again, driving it in and around town, it is absolutely fine. Only when driving on the highway, I wished I had a bit more power. Then what about your driving position? Well, you cannot adjust the height of your seat. Also, the seat doesn't give any side support at all. Besides that, the seats are good enough. The steering wheel is in a fixed position. That means you cannot adjust it. And again, driving in and around town on those shorter trips, you are comfortable enough in this car. Only on a longer trip, because of the lack of adjustability, you'll probably have trouble finding a comfortable driving position in this car. Then the driving itself, well, I will describe it as it does the job. The steering is light, the suspension is comfortable, that means it is great for maneuvering in town. Do you want to take a sporty corner with this car? Please don't do that, it is not made for that. This car feels most at home at speeds up to 80 kilometers an hour. Just do normal, that is crazy enough. When you get into the Dacia Spring, it is like going back in time. First of all, there's no button to start or stop the car. No, to start or stop the car, you still have to turn a physical key. On the gear selector, there is no parking gear. But why do you need a parking gear when you can put the car in neutral and then pull the physical handbrake? Do you want to open a charge port? The only way to open the charge port is by putting a lever here under the steering wheel. And this car only has one wiper blade. I mean, how cute is that? All jokes aside though, the interior of the Dacia Spring, just like the way this car drives, gets the job done. I mean, everything is covered, of course in hard plastic, but everything is covered and you don't always see that in this class. Everything feels sturdy, nothing is rattling. Again, it is fine. Then you also have quite some storage space because you have huge door pockets. There is some space here in your center console and the glove box is absolutely huge. The multimedia system is really simple. You have a radio, you have Bluetooth connectivity, you have a navigation and you have support for Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And because there are so few features in this system, it is really responsive. One thing to keep in mind when you are thinking about buying a Dacia Spring is that the Dacia Spring is a 4-seater and not a 5-seater. The seat in front of me is in my typical driving position. I am 1 meter and 85 centimeters, and as you can see, my knees are in the seat in front of me. Luckily for me, the rear of the seat is soft, so it doesn't really bother me. Headroom though, I barely have any headroom left, so people taller than me won't fit here. This is mainly for grocery bags or children. What driving and safety features does this car have? It does have a system that will do an emergency stop when it detects that you're going to hit something, and that is it. It does have a speed limiter, but it doesn't have cruise control. And the odd thing is, the button to turn on the speed limiter is down here in your center console. Again, it's a really odd placement. Personally, I wished Dacia made other decisions while designing this car. For example, the car does have parking sensors and a rear view camera, but the rear view camera is rubbish. Just remove it and add cruise control. That would have been so much better. Do you want to determine how much the car should regenerate when you lift your foot off the accelerator? Nah, you cannot do that. I mean, you have an accelerator pedal and a brake pedal. That is all you need to make the car stop and go, right? So what do I think of the Dacia Spring? Well, it is a great car for your local commutes. And yes, it is simple, but again, it gets the job done. And I love it. And if we want to get more people driving electric, more car makers should make more cars closer to this. then closer to those 50,000 euro crossovers. And that was the review of the Dacia Spring. Again, before I end, a big thank you to Van Mossel in Rotterdam for lending me this Dacia Spring. If you live in the Netherlands and you are looking for a new Dacia or Renault or Nissan or MG, definitely pay them a visit behind me right here. Again, that was really the review. You know the drill. If you liked it, please give a like. If you have something to say, please leave a comment, and it would be awesome if you subscribed. And then I would like to say now, thank you a lot for watching, and as always, to be continued.